Another part of the Myles extension we have to address is a comment from Myles' agent about the timing of the deal. This comes from Nicole, Lynn, who is Myles Garrett's agent. According to Cleveland.com, Nicole Lynn told Mary Kay Cabot, quote, Andrew Berry and I spent the last 36 hours getting the deal done, basically. Myles had a change of heart, and he's excited to go from Cleveland to Canton and chase the championship in Ohio.
Funny how money changes that.
He said, quote, he being Myles Garrett here, quote, I want to get this done before free agency so I can start recruiting free agents so I can help the team. And I said, all right, we have 24 hours to get this done, and we did, end quote. We'll do the Cleveland to Canton thing in a sec. But the Browns, as of now, and we have not gotten the final details of the Myles contract in terms of how it impacts their current cap situation right now. But as of Friday, they had about $13 million to use in free agency. Dustin, do you think Myles
sorry, that was like an onion. Like a headline from the Onion.
It was like, that's well said.
Right? That was hilarious.
Because when it read like parody when I read it too. I'm like, wow.
Like there's.
I almost stopped for a second. Is that real?
Especially because they threw in the Canton.
I was like, is that self-deprecating? I was like, wow. I mean, he had to change a heart. Like, yeah,
he knows what time it is. Yeah. He knows that it's going to be met with great skepticism, which it was.
Right.
But the fact that he put in there, from Cleveland to Canton, and now he's going to help recruit free agents with a $13 million budget.
That's the other part that I was going to point out. It's like, okay, you got the deal done. Now who are you going to go recruit?
Yeah, with what money?
With that
Am I going to Aldi to recruit?
They now have less money because of your new contract.
That's McDonald's break. I've been trying to find that out, McNuggets. With this deal.
They actually could have created some cap space.
Like how much?
We don't know yet.
That's BS. I need to know this.
That much.
It
can't be that
much. It's
going
to change it nominally. It's not going to be a big difference.
Nobody
one
gets
way or another.
the only guys that get recruited in the NFL are older, wide receivers
or defense
with a great quarterback.
And they're looking to go win a championship.
Or running backs that are kind of been really good number one backs at the end of their career.
Like maybe Lamar Jackson was involved in recruiting Derrick Henry. I don't know.
Sure.
Well, Myles Garrett's not recruiting anybody to the Browns. Nobody's coming to the Browns. Even if Myles Garrett really wants to recruit, nobody's coming here because of Myles Garrett.
Now, there was a conversation between he and I can't remember which player it was now. May have been Hendrickson. About, can you imagine us teaming up together? And so there might be another defensive end that would be like, oh, we could cook. With you on one side and me on the other. And now, the reason that it would benefit that player.
Abdul Carter?
I may have been Abdul Carter.
Which,
by the way, my original plan from a month and a half ago, before Myles asked to be traded,
I knew it.
I said the Browns are going to go to him and tell him we're going to get you help. We're drafting Abdul Carter. We're going to quarterback in the second round because we don't think there's a first round worthy quarterback. That would entice Myles to stay.
We're going to win 3 games again next year.
That Abdul Carter drum is going to get louder.
Listen, I hope it does. I mean, because now we have that real possibility of watching a premier college pass rusher teaming up with the best in the game or one of the best in the games. I would be interested when I remember Simeon Rice when he was a free agent and everybody was offering a 1-year deal. And I talked to him about this, and it was off the record, but I'm sure I can talk about it now because it's years past. And when I say it was off the record, he was like, yeah, just don't report this right now. The reason he wanted to come to Tampa Bay is because he knew he was going to eat. You got Warren Sapp on one side.
Yeah.
He had an unbelievable year because of Warren Sapp.
Right.
He was getting single teams again. And so the two of them together teamed up, and ultimately we know what happened. They won a Super Bowl. I'm not suggesting that could happen here, but if you're a defensive end, there is a lot of logic in wanting to come here and play here with Myles Garrett because you can line up opposite of Myles on the other side and feast.
But much like with Myles Garrett, the players are going where they get the most money.
In the most case, yes, but and I can't remember the specifics of Simeon and other offers he had.
Right. But that's a 1-year deal late in his career, right?
Yeah, and it may have been that he did leave a few million on the table thinking this way. It's a long play or a midterm play. I'll get another 1 year next year, and it'll be even higher because my numbers are going to be better.
Right, but that was going to a team who's going to win. Like, no one's going to give a year to the Cleveland Browns when they're not going to win anything.
It didn't matter to Simeon if they won. It mattered his personal stats. You know that. If you're 3-14,
I hear you. Is there a player out there that you can think of right now?
I can't.
Yeah, so I can't either. But I'm just thinking like the amount they have so little money to go after these free agents. I mean, like you're gonna go recruit some gunners for the punt team. That's we're gonna get depth guys in free agency.
Dustin, do you think he's talking specifically about quarterback? Like
in terms of recruiting?
Yes, in terms of recruiting. Like there's the veteran.
How can he be? How can he be?
Who's worth anything?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they're gonna. We all believe, right? They're gonna bring in a veteran, right?
Right.
Guys like Flacco or whatever the case may be. There's not no big name dudes out there, but
Kirk Cousins is still in play.
Kirk Cousins or one of those
No,
guys.
they said, as of now, they're not cutting.
Gardner Minshew or I think
They're not keeping him, Bull.
Probably not. But
He's gone. Kirk Cousins. He's not.
But it's
coming
not
back.
official yet.
No, it's not official yet. But
And they said they're not doing it,
because they don't want to release him. They want to trade him.
If we polled the audience on this, like people, the Browns today came out and said our first move is we bringing back Joe Flacco, I think Browns fans will be ecstatic.
I do too.
I think
Browns won't be any good still, but
they'll be ecstatic. They won't be that good, but the feeling would be
better than 3-14.
They'll be.
And if you could tutor a Will Howard for a year, I'd take that.
They'll double their wins with Flacco. Which says a lot about last year.
I agree with that.
So now you feel a little better. You're like, okay, well, we got Flacco. Now people would be willing to hear you out and say, well, let me do this second round thing over here. Give me a Hunter or a Carter or whoever it is over here. And Joe Flacco could buy you a lot of time. And then if you say, I got my quarterback in the future that's going to sit, and the only other move they need to make to win the offseason with no money is bring back Nick Chubb.
Well, Joe could buy you a year.
He gives you some time.
At this point, he's day to day.
He is.
I don't think Joe Flacco's making it through a whole year as starting quarterback.
That may be true, but he would buy you some goodwill.
Yes, that's true.
And some time, like from a standpoint of we need this in our bridge quarterback. He needs to be durable. Joe is. We don't know. we don't think he is. He's over 40.
Right.
He needs to be an open book
to
tutor a Will Howard. I would be ecstatic if things ended up like this: Abdul Carter, Will Howard, Joe Flacco. Will Howard is, by all accounts, from the people in Columbus talking about his year there, hardworking, great work ethic. Very smart, able to absorb the playbook in a short amount of time. Dustin, you may have more info on this than I do, but this is what the people told me about him.
Jay been down in Columbus talking to some boys.
Well, I have friends that are still in the media. I worked there for 5 years, and I have people that...
You had your rundown ready on a Monday.
Here's the thing. It's also wishful thinking.
Right.
I would love to see a Buckeye quarterback in Cleveland have success. I don't want to see one come here and fail.
Yeah.
But I do think that combination... Joe was a great teammate. Joe is the kind of guy, he knows he's here for a minute. He seems to me like the kind of guy that would really take a young dude under his arm and say, look, this is what I'm seeing that you're not seeing right now. It takes time. You have to look for this. I would love for Joe
Now,
Flacco
he has said in the past he doesn't want to be a mentor because he's fighting for a job.
Well, guess what? He's 41.
Maybe he's changed his
Or however
his
old
mind.
he is. How old is Joe Flacco
I don't know.
now?
Can I ask you guys a question real quick?
Yeah. Sorry, man.
So, no, you're good. The Browns do have the ability to open up more cap space by making certain moves. Like you trade Greg Newsome, that opens 14 million. There's a bunch of different maneuvers to create more cap space.
How much?
They can save 14 if they trade Greg Newsome.
There's not.
No one's going to.
Who's trading for him?
No one's going to take him.
I'm just saying there are avenues to create
Guys,
space if you want. If they did go, and let's start with Dustin on this. Let's say they opened up 30 million in cap space instead of this 13 million we're working with.
Right.
Do you think they'll be aggressive in free agency and pursue some of the bigger names, or do you think
What bigger names, Mike? There are no big names.
Whoever, Javon Hargrave or
That's going to make the Browns winners start signing old defensive
I'm
linemen.
I'm kind of on Bull's side here. With free agency is sort of laughable that we act like, oh, it's time to go make our team better.
Right.
Like,
This is not baseball.
You can incrementally make your team better, I guess, to some degree, but you're not going to be able to all of a sudden today at noon in 27 minutes turn your team into a 3-14 team
No.
to a Super Bowl contender with a couple of moves. It's impossible. You can make some. If you were a contender already, you can get some moves to put you over the hump.
Yes.
Or to help out. But like,
it.
it's just not going to happen.
I don't think they can
time.
get a star. I think the
No.
names they're going to get are secondary names or C-list names. Guys that we say, I've heard of him, but I don't really know a lot about him.
How many
telling you
stars
right now,
become free agents?
I'm just one point I want to make before I forget, and this goes back to you said I think Garrett earned some good favor with the fans or something like that. That you mentioned Nick Chubb. If the Browns sign Gardner Minshew and he plays well, we saw how Jameis Winston played for like 2 seconds and Flacco for like 2 seconds. If Minshew gave
Flacco
you
was longer.
he what 5 games.
Yeah.
But if you got Minshew in here and that dude played and balled and they started winning, that's a Cleveland quarterback, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a poor man's Baker Mayfield type of deal where
Very poor man's.
where that's saying a lot. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like they get behind that guy, guaranteed. The blue collarness. We saw Philadelphia get behind him.
Don't shoot the messenger here. I just ask questions.
It's a fair question, but I'm with Bull on this too.
Even if they wanted
The names aren't there.
They got them. First of all, it ain't about the names, it's the bag. The bag is diminished. They got like $12.9 million.
No, but he's saying if they had 30.
So they would have to make some moves to get to. And I would say, can you find a replacement for Greg Newsome that's better on the market? Not really.
You would hope to draft a guy.
You would probably draft a guy. My thing is, they have enough assets now that where they're going to get better is the draft. Like there's a couple of positions. I listen. I think if you like running back, there's like 5 or 6, 7 backs that's going to be primetime dudes. If you like defensive ends, there's some guys up there that can get it done. So look, you can get some pieces and parts that's going to play. You got 2 third-round picks. You can move up and down the board. I just think that's the best bet because now you got Myles Garrett back. At least that's not a hole you got to fill.
The other thing too, there are a lot of teams that have a ton of cap space that are way under. And the problem there is those teams are going to ratchet up the price tags for the few available free agents that people want. And we're not going to be able to compete on that level.
And what's the point? Like, the best free agents on the market I was looking at, it's a lot of like older defensive linemen and some like safeties. There's some decent safety. What are the Browns going to do? Go out and spend $15 million on a safety? Does that make a lot of sense? Like,
if Andrew Berry signs another safety, this town will riot.
Well, because the guys he's brought in here have been flat.
That's what I'm saying. The Browns need to, they've relied on free agency and trades too much recently. It hasn't worked. Most teams build through the draft, right? And then, like you said, the Rams, they had built the team, and then they were like, Goff's not good enough, let's go get Stafford. Okay. And then they continued to supplement once they were already good. When you're a bad football team, you don't turn it around in free agency. It just doesn't work that way.
Too hard.
You have to.
Unless you've got a boatload of cap space, which the Browns don't.
Right, and they don't. And that's why the Browns are in this position where they went from a few years ago being the youngest team in the league to and I haven't looked over other teams. I would bet that if you looked at quality talent per team, 26 and younger, the Browns have to be in the bottom of that list.
Adam, what's the plan for the Browns right now? Do you know what the plan is?
I have no idea what their plan is.
Exactly.
But the problem is there's never been a plan.
No, there was a plan. There was a plan when John Dorsey and all.
Okay, I'll give you that.
All these guys cleared the deck.
Yes.
And Andrew Berry, here you go, silver platter.
But
and then
right now with this regime, there is no plan. There's a lot of hope.
No, I know.
Hope is not a plan.
Well, I assume there is a plan. We don't know what it is, and it doesn't seem very clear.
So we know where we are, and we know where we want to go.
Yeah.
And what you do, then you say, okay, well, how do you get there? You devise a roadmap. We've all followed this very closely. A lot of other experts follow this very closely that are saying the same thing we're saying. I don't think you can get there from here. Based on the car that you're driving and the amount of gas you have in it and the amount of funds you have, I don't think you can get there from here.
Sure you can.
So
sure you can.
It's not a quick fix.
Oh, sure you can.
Please tell me.
You just got to get lucky.
As I said, hope and luck is not a plan.
Shout out to
That's
Daft
not a
Punk.
plan.
You got to get lucky. Where Pharrell at? Listen, if you draft one of these quarterbacks and they happen to be good, all of a sudden we got a lottery.
Well, you said something I want to address quickly because I know we're going to go to Cavs, but I want to address it quickly. That you said if you're a horrible team, you're just not going to get good through free agency. I look at what the Washington Commanders did. Now they got it.
Lottery
the quarterback
ticket.
bid. They got it. Now, I always say these things are all about timing. Imagine if last year's quarterback was this year's with the Browns sitting there with that asset. Now you can be the Washington Commanders because you can nail the quarterback bid.
Hindsight is 20/20.
It is, but I'm saying that now we can look back at it
and say, okay, great.
Obviously, we see what the Commanders did. The Commanders nailed the quarterback. Luck, because he was there to get.
Yes, yeah.
But they also did some other things well in the draft and in free agency.
That's
I
correct.
always say this. It's a wheel and there are spokes. One of the spokes is draft. One of the spokes is trades. One of the spokes is free agency. If you take one of those out and you just completely miss on that avenue, your wheel collapses. The Browns have completely missed in the draft.
Yep.
For the most part, they have been completely awful in free agency.
Trades, they're pretty good at it.
Trades, they're
pretty good at trades.
A couple of trades, but the problem
Pretty good
is,
trades.
for an organization to have a plan to get there, the wheel has to have 3 strong spokes: free agency, drafts, and trades. And the Browns don't have a strong spoke.
But if Washington had not gotten Jaden Daniels, we would have never discussed their good free agent moves because they wouldn't have mattered.
You are 1,000% right. That's why they hit on everything.
Right.
That's
when it becomes a special season.
I would also say this, Bull. Just because they hit on Jaden Daniels, if they hadn't added to their talent through free agency and draft, that they wouldn't have been as successful either. They would have been more likely to be successful with the quarterback because that's the biggest piece. But they went out and added talent all over their defense, which I think was last in the NFL 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they clearly got better in that. And they still have some room to go. But what I'm saying is it takes – you have to be good on all 3 fronts.
I agree.
And the Browns get no passing grades on any of the fronts.
No, I don't even think on trades because the Deshaun Watson trade's the biggest trade,
Awful.
and that's the biggest
And
failure.
right.
And yes, but ultimately the Washington won more. Yes, their defense was improved, and that was free agency. I agree. But the biggest portion of their success was not only the quarterback, but the offense as a whole.
Sure.
And most of the key contributors on offense were already there. They just finally had a good quarterback to get them the ball.
Well, you can unlock talent at wide receiver with a good quarterback, and that's what they did. Because you're right, McLaren, they had good pieces there.
McLaren was always...
He was a great player in a bad system.
Yes.
And now he suddenly gets a quarterback and he says, wow, this guy's an all-pro.
Yeah.
Or at least Pro Bowler.
Yeah.